Hello everyone and welcome to today's session on collections. Some of you might have joined our session last time, and in there a few of you asked me to do a session on collections. So basically a few questions around array list, linked list, hash map, tree sets, etc. So all these collection frameworks are kind of really fussy to deal with, in the sense that all of them do the same job of traversing the array list or linked list and manipulating the objects, similar type of objects. But there are certain dissimilarities between all these, in a way that if you want to perform a particular kind of function, you choose one over the other. So let's say if you have to store key value pairs, you'll choose maps or hash tables over the rest of the collection frameworks available. So depending on the requirement of your software, depending on the requirement of your program, you need to figure out which particular collection framework is going to suit your needs. And for that, you need to be aware of all the things that a particular collection framework can do, and also all the things that it cannot do. So all that is pretty theoretical. We'll take a look at the very basics of what is collection, etc. in the session, and then we'll move on to certain MCQs as well as some coding questions that you might often encounter in written exams or interviews. And since it's a very vast topic, I'm not going to deal with all forms of lists or arrays or queues that you can theoretically go through online or through any Java books that you have. It's pretty simple. It's just that you need to keep in mind what are the differences and the nuances of each one of these. But before I start on to today's session, I would like to tell you about a joint initiative the TalentSprint has come up with Hindu, through which we are trying to bridge the gap between the IT industry and all of you fresh graduates out there. So the thing behind, or the idea behind this, is that most of the time fresh graduates have the difficulty in figuring out what exactly is going on in the IT industry, right? You're not aware of what new technologies are coming in, what technologies are moving out of the picture, why the industry is going through a downhill, or if at all the industry is going through a downhill, what technologies you can learn to improve your aspects of going through your dream company interview, or maybe if you are planning for a hackathon, etc., what kind of technology or skill set do you actually require to get ahead in competition from your peers. So keeping in mind all of these things that a fresh graduate generally inquires about or wants to know of, but due to the lack of the right audience who can help him, there is lack of knowledge around these subjects. So in this What Industry Wants series that we are going to do, we are going to interact with a starbirth of IT industry who will guide you and give you tips and pointers to bridge this gap between what actually industry needs and what you know of. So you can go ahead. This session is going to be every month in IIIT Hyderabad, and for those of you who cannot be present at the location, we are going to divide the 1 hour session into bits of 3 to 4 videos and put it online so that you can go ahead and watch these videos and benefit from it. So I'm quickly going to show you where you can find the videos, and then later on we'll move on to the session. So here, just on Google, type talentsprint.com/WIW, that is What Industry Wants, and just hit enter. It's a fairly simple site wherein you can see what the site is about, the upcoming seminar that is going to be on July 15th at 1:30 p.m. in IIIT campus, Gachibowli, Hyderabad, and who is going to be the speaker. So we are going to provide you with different insight from people from different companies, like the current session that we had, the current seminar that we had last month in June was by Mr. Narasimha Rao, the Executive VP of Infosys. So you can just go through this, you can go through the archives and simply just scroll down. You'll get to know about the speaker here. There is a detailed profile of the speaker, so you know that whatever the insights that are being shared with you are coming from the experts of the industry who have been in the industry for quite a long time and who have seen the industry grow through different stages. Just scroll down and here you'll see the videos. So like I said, the last session of the last month was by Mr. Narasimha Rao. So you can see all the videos by him. Then you can see the videos of Mr. Project Deshpande, the VP Software Development Oracle. So you can go through all these videos, and what essentially all these videos are doing is simply they are providing you with how you can improve yourself technically, how you can improve your skill set, how you can build your personality, your communication skills, what all do you need to have as part of soft skills to get through that interview in the first go, so that you just go there, sit in the interview, and you know that you are doing everything right with a certain amount of confidence that comes only when all the skill set and all this knowledge is available, right? So that is there. And then also in these videos, these people are talking about what actually the industry is looking towards. So automation is one of the things that you'll hear in the video, and AI, artificial intelligence, is being used a lot these days. So AI is another thing that you'll get to know, and things like that will make you aware of what actually is going on in the industry. And apart from that, if you have like any questions or queries, you can of course certainly come back to us in these live sessions or write to us if you have any doubts or clarifications. We'll be happy to help you at any point of time, all right? But these videos are kind of self-sufficient to help you improve yourself in any way that you would like to. Okay, so that was about what industry wants, and now let's jump onto our session on collections. So like I said, in the last session we discussing collections, and I think one of you pointed out to pointers as well, to which I said that we don't often use pointers, and it is not most often asked in either written examinations or interviews these days. But still, if next whenever we do a C session, we'll go ahead and talk about pointers as well, all right? So starting off with the session, let's take a look at what exactly collections are. So collections are basically frameworks for storing and manipulating a group of objects. So let's say you have a series of integer objects that you want to store and manipulate. You can go ahead and use a collection framework to figure out how to navigate through the list or how to move through all the objects in the list. So like arrays, if you have, suppose you have collections called array list that helps you navigate to the array list. Okay, so that is the basic purpose of collections, storing and manipulating a group of objects, and it is derived from java.util package. Okay, not that it would be asked, but just for your reference and knowledge, if you have to use collections, you need to be aware that it is derived from java.util package. Now moving on, collections provide you with a list of methods, out of which the very basic and the most highly used ones are add, remove, size, clear, contains, iterator, and is empty. So add simply is used to add elements to your collection. Remove is used to remove elements from your collection. Size will give you the size of the collection. Clear will delete all elements from the collection. Contains is going to tell you whether your collection contains a particular element or not, right? Iterator is again a very important, I think one of the most important methods of collection that helps you navigate through the elements of collection. And is empty is going to return Boolean value depending on whether the collection has any value or not. So there are more methods to it, but these are the most commonly used collection methods. Okay, moving on. The first and foremost question that I have seen being asked in most of the interviews is, what is the difference between iterator and itrable? So those of you who are online, if you can quickly give me in one word or one sentence, what is the difference between iterator and itrable? I see Paresh and Bharat are online. Hi to both of you. Whoever else is online, just drop a ping so that I know that you guys are there. And difference between iterator and itrable. So it's pretty simple. I think it isn't much of a dilemma to answer this, but the only factor to keep in mind is that one of these will help you to manipulate through the objects, will help you traverse forward, backward, edit, delete, and the other will just do a simple traversal. Hi Rami. So we are on to collections. This is the very first question that we are taking a look at. Okay, starting off, itrable is the class that can be iterated over. So if any collection extends itrable, which most of them do, that means that the collection can be iterated over. That means that we can move through the elements of the collection. All right. So let's say we have this. I'm sorry. So let's say we have this array list with some elements, say 5, 6, 10, 25, 1 and 2. Okay. So if this is extending iterable, means we can move through this list one element by another. That is the simple purpose of iterable. Okay, and it contains just one method, that is iterator. Now moving on, iterator manages iterations. So if you are iterating over, let's get that array list back up, 5, 2, 1, 7, 8 and let's say 9. So what iterator does is, if you are at this particular position at any point of time, iterator is what is responsible to tell you which element at any point of time you are referring to, what is the next element, that would be 8, what is the previous element, that would be 1, and also if at all you want to manipulate this current element. So iterator keeps the current state in itself. It knows where in the picture it is pointing to. Alright, what is next, what is before, and if at all you need to do any manipulation. Correct? So Paresh says both look the same. Paresh, iterator will, so if I just put it into one word, like I said, iterator will hold the current state. Iterable just will let you know that you can move through this list or map or whatever. Okay, you can traverse through it, but at any point of time, what is the current state of the traversal, that iterable will not tell you. For the current state, which element your iteration is pointing to at a current point of time, what is the next and all, that all information is given to you by the iterator. That is the whole and sole difference. The state is the one word that you need to keep in mind when differentiating between iterator and iterable. Alright? And iterator gives you three methods, Like I said, you can check what is the next, what is the previous, and you can also manipulate. So it gives you three methods: HasNext, to check whether the current element where your pointer is pointing to has any next value or not. Current state has next value or not. Next will give you that value. So in this array, let me take a smaller one this time, 5, 6 and 9. If iterator is pointing to 5 and you do HasNext, it will return true, since we have a next element, that is 6. Next then will give you the output 6, that is the next value. Okay, and remove will remove this current element from the list. ITribe is just for moving forward and backward. Yeah, ITribe just tells you that this particular collection framework that is extending ITribe is available for iteration. You can go forward, you can go backward. That is the sole purpose of ITribe. The actual work of moving forward, backward, telling you what current state is, that is done by iterator. So people generally confuse between the two, and if at all they know the difference, they exchange these definitions for the words. So just keep in mind, ITribe is the functionality and iterator is what actually executes the functionality and holds the state at any point of time. Alright, next, iterator versus list iterator. What is the difference between iterator and list iterator? Any one of you, now that you know what iterator does, what does list iterator do? So the three functions that we saw that iterator has were HasNext, Next and Remove, right? So these are the three functions of iterator. Now what can you make out from these three functions that could be the difference between iterator and list iterator? So iterator is just checking whether it has next element or not. Okay, so if at any point of time your iterator is at this location, it will only be able to tell you whether this location is, any element is present at this location or not, the next location. So what could be the difference between iterator and list iterator? Anyone wants to try? I'll give you a minute to think about it. Meanwhile, Shubhangi asks, please repeat HasNext. Shubhangi, let's say this is your array. Fine. What HasNext does is, if you are at this current position, okay, if you do dot HasNext, it will return either true or false. This function returns boolean value true, false, depending on whether this list has next element or not. Now if let's say finally you reach to the end of the array, your array pointer is at the last, there are no more elements after this, right? If you do HasNext at that point, it will return false. Okay, since there is no more element at the end. So it is generally used to traverse, like move through the array from starting till HasNext. Okay, while array dot HasNext, or while your whatever collection you are using dot HasNext, repeat the loop until you have traversed through the whole list. So for that purposes we use HasNext. Okay, I hope that's clear to you now. And next then will give the value at this position, or in this case it will not give you anything because there is no element after it. Alright, iterator and list iterator. So as you see, iterator has three methods, and the very first method that it has is HasNext, that will help you check whether there is a next element or not. But you can notice here that there is no method provided to check for the previous element that have passed, right? There is no has previous. Kalyan, I'm not getting your question here. You said how has next, and there is a space between your has and next. So I'm not sure if you are talking about next or has next. Cool. So yeah, give me the clarity on that question. Meanwhile, we get back to iterator and list iterator. So iterators do just forward traversal since they are talking about the next element and removing the current element. List iterators, however, do it backwards as well. They are bidirectional. So if you have a situation in your program wherein you have to traverse forward as well as backward, you will be using list iterator to do that functionality for you. Alright. So forward traversal, list iterator again extends iterator because it has to operate forward, but additionally it operates backward as well. So it is bidirectional traversal. You're talking about HasNext. Okay. Let's see, there's this array. Okay. These are the indexes. Fine. So this is an array of size 9 right here for you. Fine. Savita says, hi Paresh, I'm happy that now you know it. Moving on back to HasNext. Let's say it has elements 5, 4, 2, 9, 8, 7, 10, 1, 3. Okay. If at any point of time you are iterating through the array and let's say your current state is you are pointing to index number 4 that has value 8. Right? So at that point of time, if you check whether the array has next, okay, this function will return true because the array has this next element which has value 7. I hope this is making some sense for you guys. Okay. Now, if you have traversed through the array completely and you are finally at the last position, that is index number 8, which has value 3. Okay, in that case, if you run this function again, it will return you null value, or it will return you basically false, because after 8th index there is no more value. So HasNext simply checks whether you have a next value or not. That is the simple purpose of HasNext. Alright. So Kalyan, I hope this HasNext is now clear to you. Simply take it as English, plain English, whether there is a next element or not, whether the array has next or not. That is the simple purpose, and it returns Boolean value, true or false. Okay. Can we use loops for previous one? Yes, of course, Raghav, we can use loops for all these collection works that we are doing here, but the simple use of, or the simple purpose of creating collections is to make your task easy so that you don't have to write big, bulky, lengthy for loops. You can just use collections to do the task for you, the pre-existing functions to do the task for you, and then you can actually focus on the logic or the programming that you have to do. So that is the reason why all these different type of collections have been created, so that depending on your program requirement and the data that you are working on, you can pick and use a collection framework of your choice at any point of time, right? So yes, you can use loops, but this makes the job much easier and faster. All right, what next do we have? Azra, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. You asked if it is pointing on 3. So let me get back to the screen. So Azra, if it is pointing on 3, again, If at all it is pointing on any of these indexes and there is the next index variable value available, it will always return true. This HasNext returns false only when you are at the last location and there is no further value to operate on or work on. So it tells you that you have traversed through the whole list or the whole array and now you are done. Your list is complete. It's simply a for loop that checks whether you have traversed through all and you have reached the end of the list or end of the array. Okay. But we can use with simple array operations. Yes, Kalyan, like I said, simple array operations, simple for loop operations can be used and will of course work, but the whole purpose of creating collections was to make the task easy so that you don't have to focus on all these things. Bidirectional is you can move backwards also. Okay, so HasNext and next are all talking about the next elements. Now list iterators, if you want to do anything on the previous elements, it lets you do that also. So that is the purpose of list iterator. Okay, I can see a lot of chaos about all these iterators. I wasn't very sure that this is such a difficult topic for you guys, and I hope this is being helpful to all of you so that you now know the differences and the right options to choose from. Cool. So now that we are over with the questions, we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so this chart right here simply shows the hierarchy of the classes. So collections, all of these are interfaces. Okay, none of this is a class. ITribe is an interface, collection is an interface, list, queue, set, these are all interfaces. Okay, so collection is extending ITribe, list, queue and sets extend collection. So whatever the functions and functionalities of ITribe, they are inherited by collection and then further down to list and queue and set. Fine, this is the very simple collection hierarchy. Now some of you might notice that there is one thing missing in this chart. Can anyone point me to that? You know of list, you know of queue, you know of set, then rest of the things follow after, but there is one thing missing. What is that? One of the collections is missing here. Anyone quickly? So list will have all your linked list, array list, etc. Queue will have your further queue variations. Sets will have set variations. Hash will also come in this further down if you extend. Yes, Raghav, you're right. Map is missing here. Now, anyone can tell me why? Okay. Jevan says vector. Vector will come down in the list hierarchy. And hash set Azra will come down in the set hierarchy. So if you move down what all implementations of set, you will find hash set here, right? And vectors you will find here. Raghav says, okay, tree, generics, no, generics and collections are two different things. So we are not talking about generics here. Okay, so map, like Raghav said, map is what is missing. That's simply because the reason that Java considers map as not a part of collection. But when you talk about collections, you generally move to maps as well. You talk about what is the difference between maps and set or maps and list. Where do we use maps apart from list, etc. But in general, when you are walking through the documentation of Java, you will get to know that maps or mappings are considered separate from collections, simply for the reason that collections hold elements. So they just talk about elements and element traversals, etc. But maps hold key value pairs. So there are two elements in one single node in a map. Other than that, in linked list or tree, etc., there is just one element in a node. But in map, there are two elements in a node, because of which it creates a mapping between the key and the value. So for a particular key, there is value. Okay, that is the reason why maps are not in this hierarchy chart. All right. Moving on. So list has array list, linked list, vector and stack. All these four, many of you said stack here. All these things are part of list. So if you use a list in different formats, you'll get to see array list, you'll get to see linked list that would be linked to each other, you'll get to see vectors. One of the representation of a list is a vector, and similarly one of the variation of a list is a stack. So all these four are part of list right here. Then queues, we have priority queue, we have DQ, we have array DQ. All these three are part of queue. And finally set, we have hash set, we have linked hash set, sorted set and tree set. So all these things are part of your set interface. So these three will, as you can see, cover all the rest of the topics or the rest of the pointers that you gave me here. Vector and stack came in list, and many of you said tree, set, etc. hash set, it came in sets. So set is a generalized form of all of it. And map, that is left, will take care of your tree map, hash map, etc. etc. Okay. So what you can do is you can just go ahead and go through all these, read theoretically about all of these, because it will get really impossible for me to go ahead and take all of these up in this one session. So go through your textbooks, or you go through online to all of these, and if at all you have any questions regarding what is the difference between the two, or in what cases one is used over the other, you can go ahead and drop comment below and we'll get back to you on those answers. But meanwhile, one thing I would like to say is keep in mind that which particular of these collection frameworks will return your values in a shorter point of time. That is one of the pointer questions. Second is which of these collection frameworks will help you access the data faster. So if at all the requirement of the program is just accessing the data and there's no manipulation involved, which one will you prefer? That is another thing. Third is accessing the first and the last elements. So there are chances that your program would want you to just access first and last elements and ignore the middle elements. So which one would you prefer in those conditions? And then simply the differences that allow you to figure out what would be preferred over what, given the settings and limitations of your program or conditions. All right, so that's about it. For example, let me give you some differences, let's say between array list and vector. Okay, so in array list your size is increased by 50% of the array size, while in vector your size is just doubled. If you encounter the limit, your size is just doubled. Or for example, what is the difference between array list and linked list? Array list is a dynamic array, while linked list is a doubly linked list. That is the main difference. Okay, then let's say many times the difference is asked between hash map and hash table. What is the difference between the both? Hash map is synchronized and hash map is not synchronized, but hash table is synchronized. So that is the difference between the two. So likewise, you just maybe make a chart or a table that helps you memorize, revise these differences, so that if at all there is any multiple choice question around this, you should be able to figure out, okay, which one I would prefer over the rest. I have a doubt, what is hash set? Hash set, Arun, is simply, so hash, wherever you are using hash, you are talking about hash codes. Okay, be it hash map, be it hash table, be it hash set, whatever it is, you are talking about hash values that give you the pointers to the actual values where your elements are stored. So for example, let's talk about let's say hash set. You have this set of values. Okay, one thing is that you traverse through them through the indexes when you use a for loop. So for I is equals to 0 to I less than equals to the size and I plus plus, right? You move through the indexes one by one and you do your operation. Correct? Now if you have HasNext again, you'll simply do while your whatever set or array or whatever dot HasNext. So while we have a next element, do these operations on every element. Fine. Similarly, hash set would work on the hash values of these individual elements. Alright, in all hash set, be it hash tree, be it hash map, whatever, it work on the hash values. So remember that you can go ahead and take a look at what is a hash value for a deeper understanding of this. So I'll move on to the questions now. Which of these methods sets every element of a list into a specific object? Set, complete, fill or add. So you have a list and let's say you want to change all the elements of the list to a single value. Say you had 5, 7, 8, 9, but now you want 1, 1, 1, 1 in all those 4 places. Which of these functions would be used? Okay, I got add and Arun also said D. So 2 for add. Anyone else? We got a C from Chandra. We got a A also. See, add is a simple addition. So if you want to add anything to the list, you simply say list.add and the value. That will not change all the values in the list, right? So add is out of the option here. Now between A, B and C. So remember, out of these options, sometimes a few of the options, they are just meant to confuse you. They might not do anything at all. So they are just there to divert your attention from the right option. Now I am getting A and B. Okay, so let me give you the right one. Fill is the right answer. So anytime when you have to, let's say you have a list with different values, 5, 9, 3, 2, 1, and you want to remove all these values and just store 7 in all the places. So you simply say list dot fill and you give the value that you want to replace all these values with, and once you run this, all these values will be replaced by 7. Alright, next, which method is used to randomize all elements in a list? So you have a list with certain elements. Now you want a list with random values, but the values will remain the same that you have given. They will be just in a random order. What is the function that you would use? Is it rand? It is shuffle? Is it randomize? Is it ambiguous? So you see how thoughtfully they have crafted the options here. All these function names are simply saying the same thing, that you are doing a shuffle or you are doing a random or a randomize or ambiguous. So logically, if you see from English perspective, any one of these could be true. So anyone who has actually read about it or used it in the program would only be able to identify what is the right option here. Okay, I got a C, B, I got a shuffle, another B from Kavya. I can see most of you are turning towards shuffle. The answer is B, shuffle. Okay. Next, which of these objects can convert an object into a list? So if you have an object, you want to convert it to a list to use or manipulate the elements of the object, which of these functions would you use? I think I accidentally pressed the answer for the previous one, so now it got easier for you guys to say shuffle. Okay, which of these objects can convert an object into a list? Set list, convert list, singleton list, or copy list? So the conversion of objects to list is simply required. Let's say you have an object with multiple values which tell you about some statistics of the company. Okay, and now you want to work on those statistics through a list. So you have multiple objects maybe, and you want to create random number of lists so that you can add, delete some values easily. In those kind of scenarios, you would need the function to convert the object to list. So we have B, C, B. Okay, confusion between C and B I can see. Anyone else want to give it a go before I show you the answer? So C, singleton list, is the right answer for this. All these functions you should go back, open your computer systems, open Eclipse or whatever IDE that you are using to practice Java, and create a list, and just type that list dot. So you get to see, when you type that dot, you get to see all the variations or the functions that are available to manipulate the list. And when you click on those functions, you might have seen that every time you click on a function, there is a little help box that pops up that tells you what actually the value would be, what output would be, what parameters that the function can take. So I think these IDEs inherently provide you with all the options to learn on your own. So just all you need to do is take out some time every day, let's say half an hour or an hour, whatever is feasible for you guys. Sit on your system, just practice randomly, keep typing list dot or array dot, so you get to know what all functions are there. And the more you do this, the more you will be able to memorize all of this in your head. Just reading it out won't help you. The more you practically do all of this work, the more easy it would be for you to remember it. Okay? Next one, now we are moving on to code. So what will be the output of this code? I'll give you 2 minutes, read through the code, easy, and just tell me the answer. I have not given you options here because then it becomes sometimes pretty evident what the output would be. So I want you to go through the code and tell me what the output of this program would look like. Alright, I'm getting blank to true and another blank. Why would the output be blank? Akhil, the function is empty, returns a boolean value. So either it is true or it is false. Venkat says confused. Venkat, what is your confusion? Amit also got it right, true. Okay, Venkat, for you, let me just go ahead and explain this. We first created a vector object obj, okay, for 2. Fine, we added new element that is 3. So the first element that we add is 3, then we add 2, then we add 5, okay, and then we do a remove all here. So what remove all will do, it will remove all these values from your object so that your object doesn't have any value at all. And finally, when you do this is empty function on the object, it will return true since you have already removed all the values. So is empty gives you true. Okay, I hope your confusion is clear now. This was one of the pretty simplest question out of vector, but sometimes they do variations when they add and they remove a single value, and then they finally ask you, okay, what will be the order of the vector, or they maybe reorder or etc., and then they ask you the output. So in all these collection related questions, just go step by step so that you don't miss anything like this, because this would be your entire key of what is going to be the answer. Okay, so next one, this is about stack. Last one was vector, this is stack. So just go through the question and take your time to answer it. Okay, I see a few questions here. Vector object is created but not printed. We are not printing the vector object, Azra. We were just checking whether it's empty or not, right? And further down, 4 2 were also the elements, but then we further added. But again, remove all will remove all those elements. I just moved ahead from 4 2 to when we were adding the elements. So when we add 5 or whatever the next element was, how it will be added, and when we do remove all of those values, whether it be 5 or 7 or 8, 10, how many ever values are there in the vector, remove all removes all the values. Okay, and now I can see the answers for this one. So we have 3 5, 5 2, 3 2 5, all right, 5 3 also is one of the answers given by you. Alright, so when you create a stack, let's say there is a bucket, okay, a stack in real life reference, you can just call it a bucket, okay, and you're filling it with some, let's say, stones or cardboard or whatever. You put one on top of other, right? Now when you want to take these out, you take the topmost out first, then you take the next, then next, then next. You cannot take this one out before all of these are out of the bucket, right? Stack works very similar to this. So when you create a new stack, it's empty, okay. Push and pop are the operations for adding and deleting. So push means you are pushing a value in it, in this bucket of stack, and pop means you are taking that value out from the bucket, okay. So when you say push 3, the first value that goes inside is 3. Then push 2 puts 2 here. When you say pop, the topmost value, like I said, you cannot remove this. The only thing that you can remove is the topmost. So when you say pop, this topmost value is removed. So 2 is no more. And then you say integer 5 is pushed. So it is 5 3. Now when you print your stack, the values would be printed 3 and 5. So when you print, they are printed in the order they were inserted. So the first element would be printed first and then followed by next. So 3 5 is the right answer. Okay, yeah, first and last out. Next one, this might take a little time. Output of the given code. We have an array list and then we have used an iterator here. So we have created an iterator to traverse through the array list. So iterator we talked about in the very beginning of the session, and HasNext also we have seen. So now it might be easy for you to go through this program and decipher what is going to be the output. Okay, I'm getting options for the order of A, B and C. Keep in mind that I have not given you options here, so there could be an exception also that is being thrown. This is a very big hint that I'm giving you right here, that it could throw an exception. Now what exception, that you need to see. Read the program, easy. Just go through it step by step and see what cannot be done in this program. So what we are doing in this program is we have created an array list, right? We've added a few two elements to be precise in it, and the while loop is simply traversing through this array list using an iterator. Now while you are traversing through it, you are trying to add another element in the same array list. What that does is you have a thread, right, that is iterating over it. But the same thread that is iterating is also trying to modify the value. Okay, it is trying to read it but at the same time modify it, which is not permissible when you are working with a collection. So this program, when it reaches HasNext, it prints and it reaches this value here, it will print A, and then it will throw concurrent modification exception. Because you are trying to add a value, you are trying to manipulate your list while you are trying to iterate through the list. Two things are not allowed. No, not array index out of bound. Paresh, we are not trying to access a value of the array which is not array index out of bound occurs if you have, let's say, 1 5 8, okay, this array, and you try to print, let's say, ARR 5. That is when you will get, you're trying to access the index 5 when it doesn't even exist. That will give you out of bounds exception. Okay, in this case, when you try to iterate through and manipulate the same list, you get concurrent modification exception. So till this point, till this system.out.println, everything will work fine. So the iterator will go to HasNext, it will take the first value, that is A, and it will print it. As soon as it goes to the next one where it tries to add, it will give you this exception, concurrent modification exception. Another easy way, okay. So it's pretty easy, Akhil. The simple fact is that when you are in the while loop, there is a thread that is going to work on your while loop, right? So your thread of this object or of this program cannot simultaneously do the while loop as well as do the addition. Two operations, iteration and addition, cannot be performed simultaneously. It is not permissible when working with collections. And whenever you try to do that in the same thread, that is where you get concurrent modification exception. All right? Yeah, A is correct, but then the next line will throw an exception. All right, moving on. What will be the output of the given code? We created an array of size 5, then we are initializing values into it, then we are doing a fill. I am pretty sure that after this session you should remember what this is going to do. Okay, we have talked about fill in the beginning of the session, and then finally when you print, what is going to be the output? Sunil, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is just this first for loop where you are initializing the values. Okay, you're not printing anything here. So when you do this for loop, the value in the array would be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But then after you have run this array.fill and then you're finally printing the values, what would be the output here? Parish, how did you come to 14841? I'm wondering. So if you guys remember, what fill did was, if you call dot fill and you give some value, let's say 7, it will replace all these values of your array with 7. So your output will become 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Now another variation of this fill function is how we have done here. So we have given fill, we have given the array on which we have to work, which is this. Let me erase this so that we don't get confused. Alright. So our current array holds these values. So we have passed our array here. Now after the array, we are saying 3 values, 1, 4 and 8. Now what these mean is, the last is the value that you have to fill, that is 8. Okay. How you have to fill is what is important here. So let's say, let me show you with the index. So we have 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, and the indexes are 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So when you say 1 and 4, that means from 1 to 4, remove all the values and fill it with 8. So from 1 to 4, 4 excluding, remember whatever the last index is, we are excluding it, we don't change that value. So 1 till 4, 3 values at index 1, 2 and 3 will be changed and they will be replaced with 8. Now when you print this array at this point, your output would come out to be 5, 8, 8, 8 and 1. That is how the fill operation works when it is given in this context. So you pass the array, you pass the indexes from which index till which index. So 4, remember, the last index is excluded. You have to go till that index. You don't have to include that index. Okay? And 8 is the value with which you have to replace these values. Fine? So that was about it, guys. I hope you got a bit of understanding about how questions are asked, be it, logical questions, theoretical questions, or if at all in programs these questions are thrown, what kind of values do you expect? Just go through step by step in the program. Don't miss out on values, and don't miss out on things like remove and fill, because all these little methods that are present in your collection frameworks, they do a lot of manipulation on the data, and that is what actually changes. And in the hassle of actually printing the value at the end, don't forget that there could be an exception also in the program, because at times there is no value printed. So the values are just given to take you off the actual error that the program is going to throw. Okay, so I hope this session was useful to you. We'll share the quiz link in the chat box. So you should go ahead, go to the quiz link, give your, I think it asks for your name and your email ID and all those details. Fill those up. There will be a set of questions around collections only. So you can go ahead. I think it should be pretty easy now for you after the session. Go ahead, check your understanding of what you are aware of, what you are not aware of. Don't freak out if your questions go wrong, if the answer email that you get tells you that you are not aware. It's a good exercise to go through that quiz so that you are aware of what you know and what you don't know. You can work on it then, right? So we'll share the quiz link, go through that. And also, like I said in the very beginning, I'll repeat it for those of you who were not present in the beginning, that we have the WIW sessions. So go through them. They will be just kind of helpful or, knowledge awareness to help you prepare for your job interviews, or if you're planning for a switch, they'll help you prepare for that. They'll let you know what is the current market expectations of the IT industry, how you can evolve yourself or develop your personality to, get ahead of your peers and get through that interview of your choice. All right, what do we have here? When will be the next session? So Neil, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and IT YouTube channel TalentSprint. Whenever the next session is, a week prior to that, we just upload the banner that the next session is on so and so date, and the timing is same, 6. So I think next to next Friday, I don't remember the date, next to next Friday would be the next session. But anyways, subscribe to the channel so that you get notifications of when the next session is going to be. Next class, explain. Okay, I'm really loving this that you guys have started sharing what topics you want to be discussed in the class. That helps a lot because ultimately the sessions are for you. So whatever you want. Explain about static in Java. Okay, let me do all those keywords, static, final, etc. I think that they create a lot of confusion. So in the next session, I'll try and take up those keywords. And yeah, I still remember pointers that you guys asked for in the last session. Next session, what is topic? Shubhangi, Adra just asked for static. So that would be definitely part of the next session. And apart from that, we'll see if you have any topic in mind, you can come back to this session at any point of time, drop a comment, and whatever is it that you are facing difficulty with, if it is a question, if it is a topic, whatever it is, we'll try to take it up in the next session. We try to make these sessions around what you ask for, right? So if at any point of time between this Friday to next Friday, if you have any doubts, any topics to be clarified, any questions to be asked, just come back to this particular video of the last session and drop in all your queries in the comments. Okay, I'll just close the session now and get back to you once we are done with the quiz. Keep an eye on the chat. All right, we'll share the quiz link soon. Thank you so much guys for joining me. Bye bye.